Hey, everybody, and welcome back to the Just Make It Pretty podcast, or welcome if it's your first time here. We're so glad to have you. Today, our episode is going to be about leadership and the different styles that build stronger teams and also will affect your buyer's experience. So we're going to be talking about holding high standards, but also having real care for your team and some tips and tricks and things that we've learned along the way of how to communicate, collaborate, and lead each other that will directly impact your culture, but also your buyer experience. My guest today is an amazing leader, and I can't wait for you to hear everything that she has to share. So if that is interesting to you at all, let's stick around and we're going to get right into it. Welcome to the Just Make It Pretty podcast, the marketing and mindset show for home builders and beyond. I'm your host, Sarah Haynes, and around here we go beyond pretty pictures and we get honest about what's working, what's not, and what it really takes to build better brands, better experiences, and better teams. You'll find creative ideas, practical strategies, and conversations that actually matter. I'm so glad you're here. Now let's get started. So today, my guest is Kirsten Nease. She is the Director of Sales and Marketing over at Cornerstone Homes. And I am so thrilled to have you, Kirsten, to talk about leadership and all the things that are going to build stronger teams in home building. So thank you so much for being here.
Thanks so much for having me, Sarah. It's a pleasure, and I'm really flattered that you asked me.
Of course. Yeah. No, I was talking with Sherry the other day, and she was just raving about your leadership style and the way that you guys do things at Cornerstone. I can't wait to have this conversation. I think it's going to be really fun. And you have a lot of info to share, so it'll be good.
That's great. Yeah, I look forward to sharing it. I love Sherry. She's been a great partner with us and look forward to chatting about it all.
Before we jump into our topic, I always like to ask the history question. How did you get into new home sales and your role today?
I think, like a lot of us in home building, we came to it because our family was in it. And I did, but in a kind of a weird way. My mom was always interested in design and interiors and had her own design firm. And so I would run around with her to different showrooms and in different people's houses and all different show houses and things like that when I was a kid. And so super interested in it. Went to school, was an accountant because that's what was going to get me a job right away after I graduated school, but always was interested in the arts and design and took art classes while in school at Villanova as well. But then landed a job, worked in Marriott International. I was in their audit team and again in and out of hotels and hospitality industry, which was quite interesting, and found my way working in the accounting department for the design team. Again, leaning back into construction. Married a fella whose family owned a custom home building company, and then just kept finding my way back into design and home building through that. Ran my own interior design firm for 15 years before joining the Cornerstone Homes team 8 years ago. Came here more as a project manager, and then rolled into the marketing department and ran that for 6.5 years, and have been here in sales and running the sales team now for the last year and a half as well. So doing sales and marketing. So yeah, it's been a fun journey.
Yeah, it sounds like it. And I'm always so fascinated by people who touch so many different departments and so many different areas of home building and how you can bounce between all of them. I think that's a really unique skill set. But having that experience in design and marketing and sales, how do you think that has shaped the way you lead today?
I think a lot of my experience has been direct one-on-one with customers. And so I really lean into that customer journey and want it to be set the right expectations for what we're able to achieve at Cornerstone Homes, but also so that they have a great customer experience. And we're all used to the Amazon and Apple experiences these days, and buying a home, which is one of the most significant investments people make, to have that experience be good as well is really important to me and the way that I lead and how I want my team to approach everything they do.
It's something a lot of leaders say. They're like, oh, we want our buyer experience to be good. But I feel like not a lot of leaders are like cross-trained in that way. They don't touch all of these different departments. I guess my question for you is, do you think that's something that more home builders should do or more leaders should push for, is to have different training in different departments?
I always feel like when a new employee comes in, if they're able to, and if the time allows for them to go out in the field and kind of shadow different parts of the team that you work with is important because you get to see what you're doing and how what you might be doing for the company would fit in with what they're doing, whether you're an accounting person and you're processing payroll and bills and things that come out from the field, or you're the OSC listening and being the first person that's talking with everyone to go out in the field and see the houses being built and work with and see a closing happen and what the closing walk looks like and be on the sales floor or be in a design appointment. I think all of those interactions are super important and help you to talk about the product better and to be a better team member and more supportive of what is going on in your role. Yeah.
I definitely agree. And I love that you said to be more supportive of your other teams as well, because I know a lot of times when I come into home builders, it's this finger pointing game of it's sales fault or no, it's marketing's fault. And I think that level of understanding would really help so that everyone is like, oh no, we're all working towards the same goal. We're all doing our best to work towards the same goal.
Yeah, and I think that was something for me. I have pretty high standards personally and I have a pretty go attitude, and I have to constantly remind myself that everybody on my team, while they might not work in the same way and capacity, they are doing the best that they can do that day to move the ball forward and keep everything online. And I think that's an important thing for everybody to remember. In any interaction you have, you never know what's going on behind where they are at that particular state that you're interacting with them. So whether it's a home buyer that's calling you because they're angry about a selection that they've made and they want to change that and they're being told no, and you have to talk to them and understand, okay, what's bringing you to this point? Understanding more about the whole situation helps you really be a better leader and come up with a better resolution versus reacting to it right away, which I think is something that I've really worked on and learned in my 8 years here after running my own business. You're in charge of everything and you are what's happening. So working in with a team and making sure that you're cognizant of what everybody's doing is really important.
Yeah. I know what you mean, running your own business. Everything comes down to you and everything feels so big. I feel like in everything that happens because it's like that's directly hitting that bottom line or whatever. I definitely feel that. And one of the things that when we talked before this episode, you were sharing was the balance of being direct, but also having that care for your team and how that sort of works. So can you talk a little bit about that and how you marry the two?
Yeah, and again, it's something that I'm constantly working on as a leader is to be clear with them, but also caring, and to come at it from a standpoint of they're doing their best to achieve what they believe is the right thing to do at that point, but that correction maybe needs to happen. To go ahead and make sure that I'm asking their permission in a way. Hey, I saw that you did this. I really appreciate you kind of have to sandwich it a lot of times, right? Sandwich the good stuff and then come at it with your right point, but asking their permission. Do you mind if I give you some advice or do you mind if I give you some feedback on how that interaction went? I really think that if we approached it this way, it might work out better. And I've seen that really be successful in what I'm trying to achieve with my team versus just coming at them and saying, no, you really you need to do it this way. And this is why to be more understanding and empathetic towards what their current situation is, and then asking permission and then sliding your coaching in there.
It's funny because I think I lean so far on the other side of I just want to make sure that I'm being received well. So I sugarcoat everything. And then I've gotten the opposite feedback of being direct is actually kind because you're not making people connect all of these dots and they have an actionable feedback that they can actually move forward with. So I've had to change how I communicate as well to do that sandwich, like you said. Go ahead and give them a little bit of positive
Positive.
thing and then talk about the thing that you need to change. And then at the end, end with something positive as well. And instead of going into this whole thing of, oh, but everything's fine, it's all good.
Yeah, and I think that's the other thing is we've done a lot of the personality assessment training and review lately of our team and understanding innately who we all are, right? We all have different personality types and different things that drive us or make us crazy. The glass is on the edge of the table. I'm going to push it up because I don't want to clean up the mess or worry about somebody cleaning it up, but somebody else's reason for pushing the glass onto the table better, it might be totally different. They might do it because they want the glass to be closer to the person. And it's silly things like that, but you take that in bigger context of what you're actually trying to achieve every day in your sales offices or construction companies, and understanding kind of what motivates people is really important, and what drives them to be their best self. And so I do think sandwiching and learning more about who your people are, either when you're hiring and also throughout that journey of their employment with you, helps everybody have a better relationship.
Oh gosh, I love personality tests. Every personality test that I can find, I want to take it and I want my team to take it because you're right. You get so many insights into, and these are things that they wouldn't necessarily even think to communicate to you. It's just, it's there and they know it, but it's just not something that we share all the time. So I love them.
Yeah. The few that I've done, I always feel like somebody's been sitting in my office for a month watching me. And so I do find them generally to be pretty helpful and an easier way to understand who you're working with and what drives them. Because that's the other thing in sales leadership, or in any leadership, right? You're dealing with a bunch of different personalities, and particularly in sales, people, they're hungry, they want to make sales, they're mostly commission based. So it's a little different trait than the person that's processing all the closings, that's likes to be behind the table. So you're going to have different approaches with different people and different personalities, and really understanding that is important in how you interact with them. Again, going back to that buyer journey, we do a lot and have identifying your stereotypical buyer, right? Oh, this person's moving from out of town. This person's more of an engineer and he's super technical. She's really artistic and flighty and not great with money concepting. Matching your style of communication with that personality trait is really important. But then also setting boundaries. Okay, at Cornerstone, this is how we do it, and this is our expectation, right? You have to be clear about that, but also try to skew your messaging to match how they receive it.
Yes. Yeah, that's really good. The difference between the way that sales is going to talk to and the way that marketing is going to speak and share things, I think when you have this concept at the center of everything and you're constantly talking about it, I feel like it makes it easier for your team not only to apply that to buyers, but to apply that internally as well. And just understanding how people communicate what's important to them, I feel like it's just going to help every part of your company in general.
Yeah, the couple examples recently, we're switching to HubSpot, and marketing uses certain portfolio contact traits for certain things, and the sales team uses other things. And so things were getting left out, and we had to have a meeting. Okay, it's really important that you fill these things out. And they're like, but it's already over here. And I said, yeah, but for marketing, we're looking and running these lists and it pulls these things. And then so once you explain it to them, like why it's important and how things operate and integrate together, people are more receptive to that. I always feel like we want to know the why behind why they're buying a home, right? That's really important. It's the same when you're interacting among your team. Have them understand why we do it like this, why we do this, why we say this, whatever, why we build it that way, all the things, because it just helps you be better at communicating that with the people that you're working with. Another one is communicating between your team members and the handoffs, right? So you have a buyer, they meet with the salesperson, they write a sales agreement, they're going to move to design, then they're going to move to construction, and then they're going to move ultimately to warranty. And so those handoffs are super important. Oh, you should know this about this person. When you meet with them, they're going to be super critical and looking at very specific things, or this is a hot button for that person. And just making sure that you are transferring that information through the buyer journey with one another helps the buyer to have a better experience and helps your team to have a better experience. They're not learning all these things for the first time they meet them. They have some background on them.
I think it's one of those things where when you don't have that understanding, some of that feedback as well, like whether it's coming from a buyer or someone from your internal team, it can feel like you're like being torn apart. Like, oh my gosh, you really suck at your job because you didn't fill out those fields.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think psychology is, it's funny. My daughter is an athlete and majored in psychology and wants to be in coaching. And I think that was a brilliant choice because to understand what's going to motivate somebody to do what you want them to do as a coach on a sports field or a coach in our environment, you really need to know these things. What kind of person are they and how are they going to respond when the pressure is on or when they have a quiet moment and they're behind plan? Are they going to be the ones that sulk and sit in the corner? Or are they going to be the ones dialing for dollars? You want to make sure you're getting somebody that's going to match what you need to.
Definitely. So going back to the buyer journey and all those handoffs, do you feel like when you were working on this with your team, was there specific issues that you had to identify? Was there small details maybe that you went back to? What did that process look like of revamping?
Yeah, so we did a whole deep dive several years ago, and it's really probably time to revisit it. Our path to ownership, which I highly encourage every team to have. What does it look like to work with us? And what do we internally as a team believe that to be true? And what should the expectation be that we set for the buyer at each step along the way? And then again, with that cross training, making sure that the OSC at the beginning understands what the expectation is of warranty at the end and vice versa, and everybody in between, because then they understand where they've been, what they've been through, and where they're going. So yeah, I think certainly at each step, you've got to set expectations and have a standard and then have a reach. If we're able to, then we're going to do a little gift moment. And that doesn't necessarily mean an actual gift you give them, but it could be like during a handoff, my team remembered that she's got a cute little puppy that's super important to her named Mopsy. And Mopsy is going to have this special place in the house. So when they meet construction for their first time, maybe he's saying, oh, in this special place, this Mopsy will love being here, and this will be a great little spot for her or whatever. It's little touch points like that are super important and make a major difference in the buyer journey. They can be monetary, but I think a lot of the times what's more meaningful is the thoughtfulness of where they've been and what they're doing and who they are.
I think people, they love that, but they don't necessarily expect it. So when those moments come up, it's like it's a surprise to them. And it's wow, I really feel cared for that they took the time to educate the next person about who I am. And they all cared enough to remember my dog. And those are just moments that stick in someone's mind.
Yeah, and there's a huge thing that happens there. It's a big trust multiplier when you're sharing things behind the scenes about the buyer personally, or then they're like, oh, trusting that you're also sharing all the technical stuff that you need to be sharing properly and that they're going to have a really smooth experience because this team communicates really well with one another. So that we always talk about the buyer journey goes like this, up and down, right? In a big cycle. And what emotional altitude, that Jeff Shore term, so of the buying journey, they're going up and down on this roller coaster the whole time, and our job is to keep it fairly stable and on the higher end, right? And so doing that and keeping their trust and confidence in us and knowing that the communication that we have as a team is strong and with them is strong, that all helps reiterate that.
And when you map that out and okay, they're in one of their lower points in this journey, that's a perfect time to bring in one of those little moments or to make an extra effort that you have to have an understanding prior in order to ever even do that. So I think mapping things out is super valuable.
Yeah, and we all get bogged down in our whirlwind of the day, right? We're trying to make the next sale, we're working with the next prospect, whatever, but we're also in charge of communication with our backlog. Taking the time and making sure that's equally as important as prospecting for the next sale, keeping our buyers happy. That's part of our evaluation process and what our team gets compensated on because we believe that it's super important. We want referral buyers. We want them to be happy. We want them to talk about us kindly. And so we put a lot of emphasis on that here at Cornerstone.
I want to go through some practical takeaways and some tips. So I have a list of rapid fire questions that I'm going to kind of throw at you. And I think that these are the things that people can run with today after listening to this episode. My first one for you is do you feel like is the one mistake that you see leaders make when they're trying to improve the performance of their team?
And I did this a lot, and I'm really working hard on it, is jamming it down their throat and not meeting them with empathy. And sometimes it's top down, right? Sometimes you're getting information from above you and you've got to shovel it out, but you've got to figure out the right tactic for how to communicate with that person. And that might be the right day and time. That might be my tone of voice. It might be virtual. It might be in person. It might be via email. Everybody's going to respond differently to the message. And so you really have to be thoughtful and more intentional about what you're saying. And if you want something to be important, then how do you proceed and provide that information loop to somebody? If you're just sending out emails all the time, the importance of your emails diminishes, right? So you really need to be thoughtful about that. And again, something I work on all the time and think about more and more every day.
So one of the things I think when people hear people on podcasts, they're like, oh, they have it all together and they know everything. And I love when people come on and they're like, no, I'm still working on this too. I think that's really important to remember that your leaders and the people that you look up to are also still doing their own self work and always wanting to be better.
Yeah, and I think that's a trait I look for when I hire somebody. I want somebody that wants self-improvement because I think that we're all improving every day and evolving into who we are. I'm 54 years old, and I don't know that I would have thought I would have been doing this when I was 25, 30 years old. It just has evolved this way for me. And we have to be thoughtful about it and think about who we're talking with.
Yeah. Okay. So next question. What is the one leadership habit that has made the biggest difference for you personally?
Oh, recently, I feel like I have gotten control of my email. So,
A big
in
one.
my role, I get a lot of email. I've subscribed to a lot of things that I want to constantly improve and learn and listen to, or blogs and different things like that. I also look at our competition, so I get a lot of that. I also interdisciplinary communication, like either between my team or with partners that we work with and different things. So there's just a flood of email all the time. And I have done a really good job thanks to my coach, Ryan Taft, right now, who's helped me get control of my email. And that is where I created specific buckets. And I just showed it to my kids and my daughter and my husband, and they were like, oh my God, that's a game changer. So I have an unsubscribe mailbox rule and I have a CC mailbox rule now. And it has really helped me, but I guess separate the wheat from the chaff, they say, where the things that are really important, and I've scheduled email time on my calendar 3 times a day. I really focus on my email and it's on my calendar. And I focus on obviously the higher priority. And then at the end of the day, maybe I'm looking in my unsubscribe box, or maybe I'm waiting 2 or 3 days to look in my unsubscribe box because it's really not that important, right? And I'm doing it on my time versus letting it control me and as it comes in, trying to deal with it and associate with it.
Oh, shout out to Ryan Taft because I feel like every professional needs help with their email inbox. I know mine is absolutely insane
Yeah,
all the
yeah,
time.
it was a game changer. And really, it was the first thing he had me do because I was like, I just feel like I'm at spinning out of control and reacting every day versus being more proactive. And getting control of my email and my calendar was super important.
All right, if you could change one thing or improve one thing about how teams work together in this industry, what would it be?
Oh, goodness. I wish there's so much technology, and I think it's amazing. And there are some great products out there for communication with one another. And I think the biggest challenge with that is anytime that you adopt new technology, there's a learning curve, and figuring out how to use it best and how to communicate between each other within that new platform. So I would say do your homework before you adopt new technology. make sure that you have the bandwidth and the time and the patience to operate in the waves of the ocean where you're coming and going. I feel like you're not quite in control every day of it, but you're moving progressively towards the shoreline where you're going to get your feet steady and everything will be stable for you. But you have to be willing to be in that period where you're rocking in the boat, right? It does take time and you have to have the patience. And I also hear this, oh, our team's adopted 5 different technologies this year. And that's, for our team, that's not attainable. To be able to implement that, you don't ever underestimate how long it takes to implement something new. And I guess I'm using technology, but I think that's probably true with any system or process that you're trying to do. Don't ever underestimate how long it takes for the team to buy into it, for you to perfect how you want to manage that, and for, what it's going to take to get to that ultimate aha moment. We've got it. We've done this, right? Like that. So just to continue to have patience with that, to be really educate yourself and to make sure that you know where your goal is, right? Like what you want, what your ultimate state is for that particular thing, that you're constantly moving every day towards that. Maybe it's small steps, but some days you might have bigger leaps.
I've had to really work on that myself because I love a new process. I love a new app and I will just dive in. And for us, like in leadership, when we're just like, we're excited about these things, it's really easy to overwhelm everyone around us.
Yeah, and I've got a lot of new team members, and to get fully up to speed on all of our systems and technology and processes and everything, you can tell it to them once, but that's not it. Like it's consistent discussions and training and coaching and learning together, because they're going to learn and maybe know something about it that you're not and want to. So you've got to be able to be flexible, but also know where you're going, but understand that it's going to take time to get there.
Yeah. Yeah. Patience is hard. That's a really hard one.
It is. Yeah. Yeah. For everybody, some more
Yes.
than others.
Yes. I'm also not a patient person. Thank you so much, Kirsten. This has been such a fun conversation. And I think you had so many good reminders for leaders out there. So I really appreciate you coming here and sharing all that with us. And if there are any of our listeners out there that would like to reach out to you, what would be the best way for them to do that?
Yeah, I think LinkedIn's probably the easiest for me, and I would love to hear from you.
Awesome. I'll put your LinkedIn link down in the description box. And for all of you guys listening, please consider following the podcast. We have conversations like this about leadership. We have conversations about marketing, buyer journey every single week, and we'd love to have you back. So please follow the podcast, like this episode, and check out the links in the description box so you can go check out Kirsten. She's always doing amazing things. And it's just been such a great time with you today. And thank you for joining us.
Thanks so much for having me, Sarah. I really appreciate it. It was fun chatting with you.
Absolutely. All right, everybody. We will see you in our next episode. Thanks for being here. Have a great rest of your day. Bye.